All right, welcome into Before Floor, an extension of Five on the Floor here on the Five Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewing. You can find them at FTX Arena when the Heat are back at FTX Arena, which is going to be a little while from now. Also can find it at your local Winn-Dixie, your Publix, your Whole Foods. Get the Regatta Double IPA, the Tropical Bay IPA, the Marlins Lager, Pastime Pilsner, and all the other great beers that they offer. They offer them again at restaurants as well, including our partners over at Quarterdeck. This is the official beer of the Five Reasons Sports Network and of the Miami Marlins. We're also sponsored by our friend Mark Brown. You can find him at Mark Brown, M-A-R-C, BrownPA.com. Get your estate plan through Mark Brown. I'm actually meeting with him on something this week because I trust him, and you should trust him too. He's based right here in South Florida. He's got a small office. He'll work with you directly. He's also got a title company in-house. So if you got any real estate issues that you need to deal with, he is the guy. It's markbrownpa.com, 954-566-5678. Mention Five Reasons. Take extra special good care of you. Their office does anyway. 954-566-5678. All right, let's get to it. I will say this. I am happy to be with this group right now because I just spent an hour with the Dolphins folks. My God. All right. Football season is over. Basketball season officially begins tonight, I guess, with the Miami Heat 10 games over 500. I got Jonathan Romlican. I've got Brady Hawk. I've got Greg Sylvander. I've got Alejandro Villegas. Everybody's a lot happier here. There's no yelling, I don't think. Anyway, all right, except that my daughter's doing TikTok videos right now, so I've got about 7 minutes before I get the hell out of here.
Right.
All right, Brady, you're not doing TikTok videos. You're doing actual real videos. Who's in, who's out?
Yeah, for the Kings side of things, Greg just mentioned before this that they're generally healthy, a pretty healthy team compared to the rest of the league. But obviously, Rashawn Holmes is the main one who's going to be out tonight. Same thing for Miami is going to be the same thing as last game. Kazak Paulo was questionable, and they just dropped him down to out for this one. So pretty much the same team. Bunch of 10 days have to kind of show up, led by Jimmy and Kyle. Which, by the way, as I'm talking about Spoelstra talking about this game, he was going on and on about how big Kyle and Jimmy have been and just how they're the easiest stars to play with that you can plug in 10 days next to them, and talking about how big he's been just on this little run. And I'd have to agree, just that it is pretty wild to see a guy, Kyle Guy steps in or Highsmith steps in and Jimmy's able to, and Kyle's able to, and Tyler's able to find them and get these assists and get these assist numbers and still generate offense in this way.
Mario Chalmers. I was in a locker room in Sacramento, Greg, during the Big Three era. I've never seen Mario so pissed because Eric Spoelstra took him out after 10 threes when he was going to break the record. And Rio wanted that record badly. Do we get a chance to see Mario Chalmers attempt more threes tonight?
I think tonight's the night. I really do. I think that, you know how in the preseason when Spoelstra does that thing where like certain guys will play and then there'll be a whole nother group that doesn't play at all. And then the next game, you'll see like a whole different rotation of guys. I think we could see elements of that. Obviously, I think Kyle Guy still gets, another good shot at some minutes. Also, Highsmith, he'll get some minutes for sure. But I think tonight's a Mario Chalmers night. I don't know that he's going to hit 10 threes. If anybody in the comments can remember who he tied at that time, you'll get a shout out from me on Twitter. He was a Boston Celtic. I'll give you that nugget. Just if you can remember who he tied.
He's also an Orlando Magic.
He was an Orlando Magic. That's probably a reference that people would remember even more. Anyway, this is an interesting game because they play tomorrow night. We were talking pre-show about the fact that this is the first end of a back-to-back against Golden State, who gets Draymond Green back. And any moment now, Klay Thompson will be back too. So it'll be interesting. I feel like they got to get this one because tomorrow night is like not going to work out so well. I've been wrong before. So I hope that you see Sacramento fully healthy. I have a feeling that we do get Mario Chalmers minutes, and he is probably one of the first guys off of the bench of the 10-day contracts.
Jonathan, Brady has said this, I think, and it's correct. I mean, if you have Jimmy and you have Kyle and you have Tyler, which are three of your four most important players, you probably got a pretty good chance to win against some of the lesser lights around the league unless somebody gets hot against you. I guess what surprised me the other night was that they didn't really get great games from Kyle or particularly Tyler and still won because Jimmy just went nuclear, essentially, which, again, is one of those things. Jimmy gets a couple days off. It's pretty typical that he does that. But what needs to happen tonight that maybe didn't happen? Because I think Sacramento's a little better than that Houston team that was put on the floor the other night.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to see a little more from the scoring side from Tyler Hero. I loved what I saw as far as the playmaking goes. I mean, he found Kyle Kai, he got him going, which was super important for the last game. But I think in this game, when you have a couple of scoring threats on the team, like Harrison Barnes, Tyrese Halliburton, that's who's shooting almost 50% over the last 2 weeks from three, you're gonna need somebody on our side to combat that scoring. And sure, we can look for Kyle Guy or Mario Chalmers, a Highsmith to maybe give you some of those points, but we know that that Hero is capable of it, and we're going to need to see that from him this game. So I think that'll be the major difference that we'll want to see from last game to this game.
By the way, we're also sponsored by our friends over at Prize Picks. Use the code 5. I haven't checked out the numbers yet, but I would play Tyler over tonight on the points. We have seen that he has a sort of a down game from a scoring perspective. He bounces back for the next one. Use the code 5. You get your initial deposit matched as a bonus. Brady, the scoring of Kyle Guy jumped out the other night. Obviously, you make 3 straight threes like that, people are going to notice. What did you like from the others? What stuck out to you?
Well, for one, I just want to stick with Kyle Guy for a second and say that I don't think I expected the passing element to be there. Like, it was almost like the flashy side of things where you're sitting there seeing him put the ball on the floor well, which he's done a lot in the G League, but he was throwing quick passes inside to the big, and Omer was getting easy buckets. So that stood out. But a guy in Haywood Highsmith, I think I said this before they even played, that I feel like he's the name that'll end up sticking. Not sticking now, but I think he'll end up coming back to, because right now there's just no way they can end up getting a guy like that to stay on the roster. But I think it will be eventually. He's just a Heat guy, and it's looked like that. When a name comes out of left field like that, where they're like the Eric Holman one was the driving distance. Mario Chalmers is obviously a pass there. Chris Silva, there's a pass there. Kyle Guy, they needed to plug in some shooting. Like, the name Haywood Highsmith kind of came out of nowhere a little bit, and I think there's a reason, because he is a Heat guy. He plays bigger than he is, as I said. 3-and-D is literally his role. He's a corner shooter. It almost felt like they needed a PJ replacer in a lot of ways. Not that he's PJ Tucker in any way, but I feel like the corner shooting, being able to run a little bit of handoffs if needed, he can put in the dunker spot. And he's obviously a pretty decent defender, and he rebounds bigger than he is. So I think that was Greg, I think you pointed this out in the last pod, that they trusted him down the stretch of that game as well, when they had pretty decent rotational guys already playing. They had a decent 5 going, and they still went with him. That says a lot of things. I think when Eric Spoelstra shows that trust immediately, it kind of shows some things. So I think with him, that's going to be intriguing. And speaking of the last one, I think we may see Eric Holman instead of Silva tonight. I know Silva has the pass, and it was Eric Spoelstra's guy, but it feels like I don't know if Silva was the right move last game. Like, it feels like give that guy Eric Holman a chance to see what he can do. Since obviously it's only 10 days.
All right, a few things come in here. Alec Dixon, have a good time at the game. He's a frequent follower of ours, so enjoy it out of Sacramento. I will say that's one of the 3 buildings in the NBA I've not been in, because actually that building went up. I used to go to Arco all the time, or when it was called Arco, but that's one of the 3 buildings I haven't been in. I hear it's a nice place, so enjoy the experience out there. Also, yes, Ricky hit it right with the Mario Chalmers thing, and yes, Sean Rochester, of course, figured out what Greg was talking about, that the old Shawshank redemption, right? That was the Orlando and LA thing. But I want to go back. You're talking about some of these other guys, but there's one guy I feel like we're just taking for granted right now, and he has been pivotal. And you wrote about him, or again, which is Caleb Martin. Which is just, we're like taking him for like assuming at this stage, like he is a core piece. Like it's not like he's a 2-way or somebody you don't know. We pretty much know, Greg, at this stage what we are getting from Caleb Martin every night.
Which is awesome. I mean, it was pointed out to me today by Brian Goins of Miami Heat Beat that now the Heat, because of the way that the rules have changed, they don't necessarily need to convert Caleb Martin's contract to a standard. They can keep him a 2-way who out and has no limitations to his how many games he plays now. And they can use their last roster spot once it gets to the prorated amount. So that's an interesting wrinkle that I just wanted to give him a shout out, because I think it's a creative way to think about this. Caleb Martin. So we talk about how much we take him for granted now on Prize Picks tonight. For him to go over on his points, he'd have to get 13 points. He's at 12.5. For a guy to come out of nowhere, drop into this roster, and now be counted on to get 13, by the betting world, I just think that you're right. We take him for granted. But I think that reliability from him, like, what you're going to get, particularly with the stuff that he does, it's a really good it's just exactly what they need at this exact moment. He's really versatile. They can plug and play him so many places. So Caleb has been a great find. I bet they can't wait to lock him up to an even further out deal. You know what I mean? I think they got him on one of the sweet ones where they have him as, controlled, and I'm sure they're going to want to keep him around.
All right, I'm going to go to Jonathan here to start the picks in a second, but I posed something on Twitter as we put the Dolphins to bed for this year. Who is the Heat equivalent all-time, Greg, of Jesse Davis? The guy that the Heat kept putting out there over and over and over again, even though he was completely incompetent. Who's your comp?
Wow, that is interesting. So that would have to be during the Riley era, right? We're not going to give
I
credit.
mean, it could be during any era. I'm just curious who you throw out.
The first name that pops in my head is Terry Mills, but
oh my God, that's a blast for the past.
But they didn't really keep putting him out there and counting on him. I don't know. Hassan Whiteside, can I say that one?
You can say Hassan. I was going with Mike Bibby in the 2010.
Yeah. That works. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm going with Mike Bibby. I mean, when you're shooting 22% from three, and Spoelstra kept putting them out there instead of Super.
I remember one. Jermaine O'Neal in that Boston Celtics series.
Yeah, he was awful. I don't know what they would have done otherwise, but you're right. He was awful. All right, let's get to the picks here. And again, we're happy to be talking basketball again with you guys. And I believe Post Up 5 hours. Jonathan, they going tonight? What's going on? They back?
Yeah, I definitely think we get the win tonight. It's a really important game given that we're going to play Golden State tomorrow on a back-to-back. You don't want to go 0-2 in these games. So I think this is the more important game because it's way more winnable. Like you said, Kyle Lowry, that is, and Jimmy Butler do a really good job of instilling confidence in these guys that are coming in on these 10 days contract. So look for another one of these guys to pop. Like you said, Highsmith had a really good game, kind of doing a mini PJ Tucker role kind of in those corner threes. I think we see a better game from Hero. Jimmy does the same thing, and we get a win tonight.
Brady?
Yeah, I want to say that this is probably the first game where Omer Yurtseven almost has the advantage in a lot of ways because without Holmes, I don't think we've seen that at any point this season. Obviously, there's limited starts with him anyway. But I think this is a game where Omer has a bit of a better game than he's had because he's been on an insane run just rebounding wise. He's up there with some of the league best bigs when you look at that number when those stats pop up. And it looks like he's just getting more comfortable out there. And I think when you have, an experienced big probably on the same level of him as you're going to see with Sacramento tonight, maybe he begins to pop out a little bit more because we still haven't seen that. It hasn't been like the summer league. And it feels like when you're getting into these games against a Sacramento Kings team and you have a bench full of 10 days, like you're going to have to open things up and it's not going to be Omer in the exact role every single night as it would be with him plugging into a regular lineup. So it feels like maybe we see some threes from him tonight, pop outs at the top of the key. But either way, I think Omer is probably the player of the game tonight, and I think Miami wins.
Greg?
Listen, I want Miami to win this game, and they got to get it. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. Went and looked and the last 9 games between Sacramento and Miami have been decided by 10 points or fewer. 2 of those went into overtime. The Kings are 5-4 over those last 9 games. So like we think about Sacramento as a runner, as we're just going to run through this team and go. That's what they're going to do. So don't worry, everybody. The Heat will win this game. They'll definitely cover the point spread as well. Have the guts. Tomorrow night in Golden State, we will reassess our guts. But today we got guts.
If you got the schmutz, we got the guts. By the way, Greg has a new sponsor here, so check out Water Cleanup FL. We're going to be giving away a T-shirt to a follower later tonight. Again, after I settle through, the Dolphins need some cleanup. Maybe they should have sponsored 3 yards from carry exclusively, but you could check that out. I'm going with the Heat tonight as well. I do think they win again. I think we get a better scoring game from Hero tonight. I'm with Brady on Yurtseven, and I do think we see Rio get 10 to 12 minutes. The other thing with Eric is when he doesn't play a certain guy who's a favorite one night, he will remember to get him in the next night. Part of that last game, I think, is he just forgot. That happens. It's happened to him before. It's happened to him with Udonis. I do think that they get the win tonight. I do not think they win tomorrow night, so I'm just going to put that out there right now. But remember, the short quarantine periods, there are some guys who I think are coming back soon. I would not be surprised to see Max Strus back, not for Golden State, but the game after. Maybe PJ Tucker back soon as well. He's had time to heal also. So the pieces are starting to come back together. But as long as you got Jimmy, you got a chance. All right. Thanks to Greg. Thanks to Jonathan. Thanks to Brady. Thanks to Alejandro. I got to go back on the Dolphins thread. I got to see if any murders have been committed there between our group. So have a good day. Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Dash Radio on their Nothing But Net channel. That's every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, check us out on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Every episode from here exports there, but you also can get new, fresh live streaming shows, including Before Floor, an hour before every Heat game. Greg and I are both on that one all the time. And also Post Up 5R after every Heat game, unless it's New Year's Eve. Took the night off last night, but they'll be back for the rest of the games on this road trip. Also, 5reasonsports.com for the latest articles from Brady Hawk and others without a paywall. And also check out our great sponsors. And we've got a new one. This is a local one. If you've got the schmutz, you got to get the guts to reach out to Water Cleanup. If you're a South Florida property owner with an insurance claim, or you're dealing with water, mold, or fire damage, you got to find a reputable, fully licensed, insured, and certified contractor. Got to go to Water Cleanup of Florida. They're here for you 24 hours a day. When disaster strikes in your home or business, you need specialized, fast, and reliable services. Water Cleanup of Florida understands the impact and stress an unexpected disaster may cause. They got over 60 years of combined experience, so reach out to Michael, Robert, and their team. They can handle any size disaster. They're third-generation contractors in South Florida. It's very important for them to continue their sterling reputation. Why else would they hook up with us? Here at 5 Reasons, they can make the cleanup and insurance claim process as painless and hassle-free as possible. So reach out to Water Cleanup of Florida, a licensed building contractor also, so they can provide A to Z service and one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners require. No reason to bring in other contractors. They'll handle it all for you. So reach out to Michael anytime on his personal cell at 954-579-0356. That's 954-579-0356. Check out the Twitter account, Water Cleanup FL. We're going to be giving away a t-shirt to one of the followers of that account. So reach out to Michael, 954-579-0356. And now, tonight's episode.
Down to Biscayne. Yikes. 5 on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick in the 5 Reasons Sports. I've got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. Today's floor plan, we're going to take you into 2022. We hope everybody had a happy New Year's Eve and has a happy New Year. We did not pod off the game last night, although we all kept an eye on it and watched the Miami Heat beat the Houston Rockets behind Jimmy Butler for the most part, 37 points from Jimmy Butler. Tyler Hero played, Kyle Lowry played, but of course Kyle Guy, one of their 10-day pickups, had 17 points. We did not see Mario Chalmers, although it is likely we'll probably see him at some point on the road trip, but he did speak after the game. You can check that out on our YouTube channel, but we're not going to focus too much on one game. And the reason that Greg and I are not going to do that is because we don't know if some of these players are still going to be here in 2 weeks. So we don't want to kind of over focus on guys who are not going to be part of what looks like a contending or possibly championship drive for this Miami Heat team, as they're 10 games over 500 in the new year, or going into the new year, even with all of the adversity that they face. So what Greg and I are going to do, we didn't prep this. We're going to go through 5 things we're looking forward to in 2022. Now, it can't be like just general like team health. I mean, that's obvious, right? Like, I mean, you hope everybody stays healthy and you get the best version of the team. Now, it can be some specifics on health, but we don't want to go in that. And of course, it can't be, well, one thing we're looking forward to is a championship parade. Of course, these are the things that might have to happen for that to occur. So I didn't give him any time to prep. I'm going to let you pick the first one.
Wow. So you took away the championship one, so the hope trafficking goes right out the window for me.
Well, I mean, some of the things you're going to talk about are probably hope trafficking because it's what you do.
This is true. This is true. You can't, I don't deviate from my brand too far. No. So the first thing that actually intrigues me just right off the cuff of it, as I think through these things, the different combinations, is I want to see Yurtsevin and Adebayo play together. That's one thing I'm looking forward to in 2022. I love the way that Spo has simplified the center position while Bam has been out. And I think that Yurt has been able to really thrive in that role in the way that they're using him. It's a different way than they would use Bam. I'm interested to see the two of those guys, the Twin Towers, next to each other as Yurt kind of maybe can extend his range. So that is the first thing. I don't know that it's going to be a big focus of this season, but we're talking 2022, so it could bleed into next season. So that's kind of where I'll tip off, just because of the possibilities of having that kind of Twin Tower front line.
All right, I'm going to piggyback off of that. And maybe that's the way we should do this, is one piggybacks off the next. You mentioned Bam, and the obvious thing with Bam is that he comes back healthy, but I think the anticipation is that he's going to come back healthy. What I'm looking forward to is Bam, having seen what this team looks like without him, figuring out a way to come back and be the best version of himself and be aggressive. We've talked about that before the season, but now we've seen them have some success without him, and it's not to disparage him, but they have found ways to win without him, even when they haven't had other pieces. I want to see Bam come back with an edge. I want to see Bam come back with, like, you guys need me, and I'm going to assert myself here from the very beginning, and I'm going to be the difference maker. Because we have look, even last night, I mean, Hero, Lowry, and Jimmy, how many games has that combination played together? As we talked about before the game, I mean, Lowry and Jimmy have only played together 16. Now, throw Bam into the mix. How much of those four guys actually played together? But Bam can't come back with the idea that he's going to be a supporting piece. As Brady has written about repeatedly, the defense has changed without Bam. Certain things they run offensively have changed without Bam. I don't think that Eric's just going to change them all right back. Maybe defensively, but I don't think offensively. So I don't think he's going to change them all right back, which means that Bam is going to have to make his presence felt in the new way that they're playing. Maybe that's good for him. Maybe with fewer dribble handoffs, maybe with the way they're playing defensively, that he'll be forced to do that. But I want to see an aggressive Bam. Your turn.
You're raising the stakes of this. I like that. See, I was thinking very micro and you went more macro. So I'm going to head in that direction as well. I'm looking forward to seeing Duncan Robinson sink or swim in Miami. I think that this postseason will ultimately decide whether he is a long-term fixture as a rotational core piece on this team, or if he flames out in the playoffs coming off of this up and down uneasy season. I think that they would look to make an adjustment there. So I'm interested to watch that play out, because we know how seamless he fits when everything's working, and we know how much he complements the Heat's best players. But at some point, they're going to have to make a decision about allocating that kind of percentage of the salary cap to a guy that you're seeing Max Strus and Kyle Guy for one night do things that are pretty similar. So I think that that's a really interesting thing that leads into transactions. And, I love transactions, so that's why I'm watching it.
All right, well, I'm not going to take it toward transactions, but I'm going to piggyback off the Duncan Robinson thing and say that I am just looking forward to seeing the way Eric Spoelstra figures this out, because we know that Duncan is a favorite of his, and Duncan has had enough moments for you not to give up on him of late. And I've said over and over that I want to see what he looks like with Jimmy and Bam, and people are like, well, you saw it early in the season. Now I need to see it with this group and Lowry and how the whole thing works. I have my doubts about him and Lowry together as a backcourt, but I want to see, like, how far does Eric stay with it if it's not working? But I'm going to pivot to the next one here. I want to see how much Tyler Hero forces his hand. And I think we're at this stage. You've talked about it, this idea that, at some point, you're going to have to make a decision. I don't know necessarily that Hero and Robinson are playable together in a starting lineup. I don't think we're there. The numbers don't bear it out that it's a positive for them. Tyler Hero, unless, a Dame Lillard or a Bradley Beal, both of whom, their situations are trending downward again, as they always do. Unless one of those guys pops, okay, and then you maybe take a look at the Hero thing again, it looks like Tyler's going to be a part of the future now, not indefinitely, but certainly for the near term, right? So if that's the case, then, and you can't play the two of them together and Tyler is ready to start, we talked about the move that Eric can make and put him in the starting lineup in the playoffs, which is the one card that he's holding. But does Tyler force the move before that? I do think it's interesting. And this played out again last night. Tyler Hero does not shoot the ball as well as a starter as he does as a sub. He just does it again last night. Same thing. His shooting numbers are down. I don't know why, because he's fine playing with Jimmy in most circumstances. And at one point we thought he needed to play off of Jimmy. But now it does seem like he finds his spots more comfortably when he's coming off the bench. Maybe it's because he's got 6 minutes to look at it. I'm not really sure. Or maybe it's because the role is more defined for him. But he's been better coming. He has been better coming off the bench. It's not just us saying, well, you're trying to keep Duncan in the starting lineup. So I think that's going to be something to watch. I'm going to give you a second to think about it, because we're going to tell you everybody about a sponsor here before we move on. The one resolution that everybody should make: go to prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. FIVE, that's FIVE. Use the code 5, get your initial bonus match. That's right. You want to spend $100 or deposit $100, they will match $100 to play with. And that goes a long way, because you don't have to play $100 when you do the power play, the flex play, 2, 3, 4, 5 players together. They had a 22-for-1 special yesterday. If you hit all 5, you got 22-to-1 odds. And we had a bunch of people on our timeline saying that they hit it last night. If you study the numbers, you can do pretty well. And, of course, you don't have to just play NBA. We got the NFL playoff games that are coming up here pretty soon. Still got the college football championship if anybody cares about that SEC thing. So you go to prizepicks.com, use the code 5, get your initial bonus match. We have new players every day. Find out why. All right, Greg, I finished up with Hero. Doesn't mean you can't go with Hero, but give me something.
So before I do that, since you just teed up Prize Picks, I want to mention that I was so damn close to one of those 5-pick flex plays, and I ended up getting 4 out of 5. And the one that killed me is Dame Lillard. I thought he'd go over 30.5 points, and he had 18. So Dame, you killed it for me. I hope Miami goes into Portland and wins, because that 22-to-1 was a hell of a promo on New Year's. So anyway, the next one for me, honestly, it's 2 guys, but I'm crazy if I don't really slant it more toward one than the other. But I am looking forward to seeing playoff Jimmy and playoff Kyle Lowry. I think those 2 guys came together for a very specific reason. Kyle Lowry, frankly, his heart is in Toronto and will always be in Toronto. The only reason he came to Miami is to win a championship with Jimmy Butler. Like, that's how I look at that. And Jimmy is at the height. I can't emphasize it enough, of his powers. Like, we're seeing him one night get 15 assists, and from the same spots of the floor come out the next night and get 37 points. He's at the height of his power. So I am looking forward to when, like, this team has hopefully everybody, which we're not going to hope, like, that's too big of a general hope, but just those 2 guys in a playoff series set up, knowing that it's like the stakes are highest. I'm interested to watch those guys play together.
I'm with you on that. And I'm anxious just to see them play together before the regular season, because that hasn't happened a whole lot. But you're right. I mean, that Kyle is here for Jimmy. That's why Kyle, and look, there were very few guys we talked about that Jimmy would have been okay with the Heat parting with Goran Dragic to get. And this was one of them. I mean, you see the love he still has for Goran when Goran's working out in the practice facility, and Jimmy's, the first post on his Instagram. So there's no hard feelings there. And I do believe at some point we're going to see Goran Dragic back in a Heat uniform. I think the more interesting question there is going to be what the role is going to be. I do think Goran's going to finish his career with the Heat, but I don't know that it's going to be the Dwayne role where, Dwayne was playing those kind of minutes, because just the roster has changed. And also, obviously, Tyler Hero's role has changed. And part of the reason that they cleared out Kendrick Nunn, which looks like it was a wise decision at this point, since he hasn't played yet, is that, they wanted to clear the path for Hero. I'm going to go past that just a little bit. And as you talk about Jimmy, I want to see Jimmy in an All-Star game. And I know he doesn't really like to be there. Last year he didn't want to be there. He certainly didn't want to be there if Bam wasn't there, which we talked about a little bit. It's Cleveland this year. Nobody wants to be there except you.
Right. I'm trying to convince you to go. Ethan won't come to the All-Star game.
We're going to try. Well, it's also my birthday weekend, and the idea of me spending my birthday weekend in Cleveland,
the bugs on the hotel windows.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not bringing my daughter up. I'm not bringing my daughter up there. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I just think I want to see Jimmy in an All-Star game representing the Heat. Again, I think that was missed last year by Heat fans. And I think he deserves it. I think the fact that he's come back now with a month and about 5 weeks, 6 weeks till the All-Star game, provided he doesn't have another hiccup health-wise, he's going to be the Heat's representative. Now, whether Tyler is the Heat's second representative depends somewhat on record. I also think it depends on COVID. I don't know that Tyler's necessarily going to make the top 12, but I could see him making the top 15 or 16 maybe, in which case maybe he gets that opportunity. I think it's more important for Tyler to be around those kind of players than Jimmy. But I do think it would be fun for Heat fans to see Jimmy in that light. All right, you're up.
Spo, Coach of the Year. It has to happen. This is the year. If it doesn't happen this year, the league is completely full of you know what. Like what other year has he maximized guys? And if this just continues, they're a game and a half out of the damn 1 seed in the conference. Like that, it will be the worst travesty for an award since Riley didn't get Executive of the Year and they gave it to the Gar Pax nonsense in Chicago. Like that one, and I know the LeBron one in Miami was also the MVP with D Rose. That was a big one that everyone talked about. But Spo has to get it right. And what are my blinders on?
I think it's highly unlikely. Honestly, it's not about blinders. It's just we've talked about who that award typically goes to. It either goes to a team that kind of runs away. And particularly if that coach is a media favorite, or it goes to the team that surprises everybody. So the problem for Spoelstra this year is that both things exist. In the West, the team that runs away potentially is Golden State. Steve Kerr is a media darling. I think that there are those who feel that maybe someone felt Steve got too much credit for what happened with those Warriors. But also, I mean, I was doing an interview yesterday with Coach Nick, who we've had on here. He says in his view, Steve Kerr is right now the best coach in the league. So I don't think it's a totally ridiculous, as he just says, the offensive stuff that they're running is ridiculous. And now they've replicated it on defense. So he says that Steve is definitely deserving. Okay. So if nobody was projecting Golden State to be a top 2 in the West this year. Nobody. Okay. I mean, Steph was healthy. They were like a 4 or 5 seed with a puncher's chance in a second round series. Right. But now they look like a juggernaut, and they haven't had Clay and they haven't had Wiseman. So I'm not one of those who believes Steve Kerr is just a roll the balls out guy. He's very similar to Phil, and he does, but I think he's even more creative offensively than Phil. And so I don't think he's a bad choice. I think the other problem is you have the other thing, JB Bickerstaff in Cleveland. That's the come out of nowhere team. Now he's lost 2 pieces too. Now he's lost Sexton and he's lost Rubio. So I think that could go either way, Greg. Like if that team falls off completely, he falls out of the race, right? Like if they end up in the play-in, he's not winning Coach of the Year. But if he stay up there now after losing a starter and a key rotation piece, then I think he's got an argument. I think Spo is top 3, but I don't think he's getting it. I just don't.
Quick question on this topic, and we won't stay here long. If Chicago gets the 1 seed, because they're in the 1 seed right now in the conference. Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's an interesting thing. Which Miami, though, they're 1.5 games. If they get the 1 seed, I think Spo will get, there'll be recognition of that in the same way that Chicago would get recognition. Like Brooklyn and Milwaukee, I feel like people kind of expect that.
Nobody's giving Bud Coach of the Year.
Exactly.
and nobody's giving Nash Coach of the Year. So if but you're right. I think it's going to be one of these things where it's like somebody else wins and like, but Eric Spoelstra had another great year, kind of the same way that it was always Greg Popovich had another great year. He could win the award every year. The difference is that Pop did win the award.
Exactly.
Okay. Before they stopped giving it to him. And Spo has not. So I'm not saying Spo's not deserving. I absolutely believe he is. I just don't think people are as involved in the micro level that we are in Miami that kind of know what's been going on. And they're just like, okay, Bam's been out, Jimmy's been out. But they got some good players and that's it. And Tyler Hero. And I just think that they're going to throw it out and he'll be top 5, but I don't think he's going to win it. All right. I'm going to pivot off that a little bit as we sort of move towards personnel because Spo has been handling that. I want to see if they can find one more guy, no pun intended, from these players that they brought in here, because we know that they're really good at that. Now, it may not happen now because this roster was already too cluttered. Okay. And in a good way, in a way we weren't expecting, because of the way that Caleb and Max and Vincent have played. But now you have another group of players they're bringing in behind them. And so I'm just curious to see if any of these guys can make enough of an impression that we've got a training camp story next year. Okay. Or maybe if they consolidate some pieces and they do a 3-for-2 or a 4-for-2 or a 3-for-1 or whatever, that it's like, okay, well, we're going to go call up Kyle Guy again. Okay. Or maybe Silva has developed a little bit and he's somebody that, whatever it is. I'm just curious if they can find one more because we know they don't miss in that regard.
No. And they have a spot. Like, this is the beautiful thing. And Ethan, like, I'm glad you hit on this and we're kind of, it's closing the loop on these newfound players that we didn't discuss a lot on this show, because they're going to get the opportunity in late February or March to convert Caleb Martin to a standard contract. And then they're going to have a 2-way spot available. And so you have these young guys, these Kyle guys that are out there that maybe will slide into that 2-way spot and then have some security from a guaranteed money perspective in Miami, so that you're right. We do have a training camp story next year. So it's not really something as much of a play of this year, but if you get one of those guys in the farm system, as they say in baseball, that's another win. You know, you need these guys that are playing better than their contract, playing above that value. And that's what they're getting with Caleb. And hopefully they find one more.
And the other thing is that they're kind of running an in-season training camp survivor with these guys.
Oh, I bet they love that from a competitive perspective.
Eric, to me, this has got to be Eric's favorite thing. I mean, it's just, he's got these guys competing against each other for the good of the team. I mean, that's just a perfect scenario for him.
But before we get out of here, they closed the game last night with Haywood Highsmith, and he was 3 for 3 from 3-point land. So I don't know. Spoelstra already's leaning into that guy. That's interesting to watch.
Well, it's always like if they see one thing that they think they can develop, then they'll try to work on the other things. Like I said, the guys you're seeing now, there's not the last you're going to hear of them. Okay. But it may not be now, but it may be later, but it's like they're running it's like a Lord of the Flies type situation. Okay. Or Hunger Games. They're running their internal Hunger Games during the season. Like if you got truth serum out of Eric. Okay. Yeah. And you said you could have Bam and Jimmy and all these guys healthy all season, or you could be doing what you're doing now. He would choose now. I'm telling you, he just would. I mean, it's just, his first thing he said after the game last night was that was fun.
Oh yeah. He loves Rodney Magruder dives underneath the table to get the ball, and who can get the ball from Rodney. Like those stories that Spo lights up when he tells.
Well, they're the embodiments of video coordinators who become head coaches. That's the whole thing. He sees himself in them. He's still at the University of Portland. All right, we're gonna close the loop on this in a second, but we got another code that we have, and it gets you 2 products. Okay, actually, it's gonna get you a 3rd product soon. We're gonna introduce that on the next episode. But for now, premium CBD. The code is 5RSN, number 5RSN. Go to therapistpreferred.com. That's where you can get the tincture, the gummies, the strawberry lemonade are my favorite, but they also got the green apple. You can also get the sports cream, so it's good for recovery. It's good for sleep, and this is the best stuff. They've been working with us for a while because people keep renewing with them, okay? So go to therapistpreferred.com. Use the code 5RSN, and also for all your grooming products, go to manscaped.com. It's not just the razors. They got the deodorant, the cologne. They got a whole line of products there. They've even got clothing. Okay. So go to manscaped.com. Use the code 5RSN. For that one is 20% off. For Therapist Preferred is 25% off. 5RSN, therapistpreferred.com, manscaped.com. All right. I can't believe we haven't mentioned this yet. I want to see Victor Oladipo off the bench. I mean, literally off the bench, like not, jumping up and down on the side, which he's been, very supportive this season. And it seems like he's integrated to the team much more than he did last year, which also tells you about how he feels health-wise, I think, because guys tend to be in a better mood when they think they're going to be contributing to something than when they're pouting because they're frustrated because somebody attached their quad incorrectly. I just want to see it. I mean, I'm not really worried. Yeah, I'm not really worried about some of the things that Heat fans are talking about. Like, is this guy going to get upset about losing? Look, Victor Oladipo was an all-star in this league, okay? He's also been a part of this group the whole year, which I think is going to help in that. He's not just somebody they're just dropping in like they did last year. They know him now. He's been supportive of these other players. I don't know all the internal relationships because I'm not in the locker room like I used to be because of COVID. But you can tell that he reacts to certain guys. Certain guys react to him. So there are going to be guys who lose minutes to him, but also there are young guys who are going to get other opportunities. And I want to see a healthy, motivated, happy Victor Oladipo and what he can contribute in, what likely will be at the start limited minutes to this team.
So Cooper Moorhead wrote probably my favorite piece of the year so far. And it was about Tyler Hero talking about how he's a walking, talking, sunglasses at night, superstar type of player. But in that column, he talked about Tyler Hero's ignitability. And that is like the word that resonates with Oladipo and what kind of lightning rod he can be for this team, just because of the stuff that he brings. And I think you're onto something with that. People that are worried about how they're going to cut up the minutes. Like there's something to be said for when you go to the Gabe Vincents and the Yurtsevins and these guys, and you give them 2-year guaranteed contracts. Mm-hmm. You're saying we are vested to you guys and you are part of this process. Well, then that means if they have to go a playoff series or a 12-game stretch where they don't play much, they're bought in. Like, so I'm not as worried about that. Victor Oladipo should be a great fit. I'm glad you snuck him in here because had we gone through these things to look forward to and not mentioned him, we would have been very, very misguided because it literally is the type of game-changing X factor that we're looking at this group of players and they have all these different pieces and everything's diverse and all the chess pieces Spo has. And that's the one that he hasn't had to put on the board yet. So that's super intriguing. I'm glad you closed there.
Well, the other thing is too, these guys have now had enough opportunity to put stuff on tape. So not only do they have security from the Heat, but if they do become free agents in a couple of years, if the Heat decide, okay, we're going to go a different direction, maybe the roster has gone a different direction at that point. Maybe Pat has gone a different direction at that point. Who knows? They've got enough on tape now that they still can make something of themselves in free agency. So I think there's a comfort level with that. Even last year, I mean, look, he didn't get what he wanted, but Kendrick Nunn got $5 million a year from the Lakers. Okay. I mean, it's a lot more than he thought he was, he was going to get when he came to Miami because he had a chance to put some of that stuff on tape and the Lakers were interested in it. So, I mean, if Gabe Vincent is not ultimately the long-term point guard or even backup point guard in Miami, he's still going to be a young man by basketball terms. And Mario Chalmers just came back at 35. Gabe Vincent at 27, 28. There's going to be a team that has some interest in him. I mean, Yurtsevin is a big guy with some skill. Like those aren't going out of style. Caleb Martin has proven he can be a plug and play piece on a very good team. And Strus is a shooter. I mean, he's a shooter with some athleticism. Like these guys are going to be fine. And also they haven't done enough in the league to be able to even be upset about the fact that, an 85% Victor Oladipo, who was literally leading Indiana by himself against LeBron's Cavs.
And was a lottery pick
in a playoff series and was a number 2 overall pick, comes back and starts, taking 15 to 20 minutes a night. I think it's perfectly positioned. I think Heat fans are freaking out for the wrong reason about that. And I also think if it doesn't work out, they've proven this season that they're okay. I mean, that it's not a make or break piece like we thought early in the year when we didn't think they had enough of them. All right. We went through a lot. Check out our sponsors, Water Cleanup of Florida. If you got the schmutz, they got the guts. All right. So check them out. Water Cleanup of FL. And that's the Twitter account. Okay. We're going to give away a t-shirt. We have enough t-shirts to somebody who follows that account. I'm going to do that by Sunday night. So make sure that you're following them by Sunday night. Also prizepicks.com. The code is 5 Manscaped and Therapist Preferred. The code is 5RSN. Have a good New Year.
And we'll start with Ira Windeman. Go ahead.
That's just great. Thanks, Maris.
Eric. First of all, KZ Okpala, we see he was upgraded to questionable. Where does he stand right now?
He is not going to play tonight. He has really been pushing for it. And we'll just continue to treat him, evaluate him every day, but he's not quite there.
You have 2 extra days to work with your 6 newcomers. How beneficial has that been? What have you done in the interim with them?
Yeah, we had a training camp practice last night when we came in, training camp practice this morning. No, we're in the middle of a crazy schedule right now. We flew in, got our rest, tested late last night because it's an early day game. Had a brief meeting and film session, and guys are ready to go. And that's where we are right now. That's about the extent of the prep that we can do.
Eric, where does your coaching staff stand? Is Karan back? Is Chris Quinn back? Where do you stand with your staff?
Yeah, everybody's back, and we just keep on crossing our fingers that we'll continue to stay whole. CB was with us last game, so it was great having the whole band back together.
Thank you.
All right, up next, Anthony Chiang. Go ahead.
Thanks, Bo. I know a few of the injured guys are back home, but Bam, how productive has this time been for him on the road being with you guys, and how much has he been able to do that, considering the injuries on the hand?
Yeah, Bam is the heart and soul of our group. So I think just from a spirit standpoint and an emotional boost standpoint, it's great having him, here with the team, with the guys. He's able to, work out every single day. But he likes being around the team, likes being around the games, and you see how engaged he is in every huddle and on the sidelines. I believe in that. There's no way to really know for sure, but I think it speeds up recovery, just being around the guys and having that human interaction. I think that's helping his hand heal a little bit quicker.
All right, up next, Cooper Moorhead, Heat.com. Go ahead.
So no, you can't pick and choose who's in or out of protocols, but how does having, 3 offensive mainstays, high usage guys, and Kyle, Jimmy, and Tyler for these last 4 or 5 days, how has their availability helped kind of smooth the transition process for all these new guys?
Yeah, that has really helped. Look, we've had to manage, quite a few different lineups and different rotations the last month, just like virtually every team in this league. So I think all of those experiences have really helped us and made us better. We've had to find different kind of solutions. And this has been pretty extreme this week, bringing in, several new players that haven't been with us all year or even in summer league or training camp. But that's the deal. And I think you need great stability and leadership, from your veteran guys. And I think Kyle and Jimmy are, some of the easiest stars to play with in this league. They're literally just competing to win. They don't care about their numbers. I think what Jimmy was able to do in the last 2 games is extremely hard to do. And I don't think, the average fan might not even recognize it. Kyle was out 2 games ago because of the protocols, and Jimmy went into playmaking mode, similar to what he had done for us the last 2 years, and had 15 assists and really set the table for everybody playing out of that point forward position. Scored a little bit less. And then all of a sudden Kyle comes back and he becomes option number 1, and he's able to, put a lot of points on the board. He's able to toggle between those 2 kind of roles seamlessly based on, the need of the team. And Kyle is the same way. If you're going to bring in some new guys, it's always easier when you have an elite point guard, an elite mind, somebody who has a great feel for the game and what's needed. And he's just setting guys up with open shots, encouraging them and infusing confidence in them. He has a whole career of that, of guys loving to play with him. And Tyler, he, is our 6th starter. But we've had to, start him, the last game, and that's not easy either when you have to change your role and your approach and everything. And he just does it great. And he's just continuing to develop his full skill set, playmaking you saw the other night, really finding open guys. And and then other nights it'll be where he's our leading scorer. So it depends on the game.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And we'll now open it up for questions in the room. Go ahead.
Any questions, people? Coach Spoelstra, just wanted to get your perspective on the league as a whole. Every team in the league is dealing with this situation. Just how they're communicating, with the other franchises, keeping you guys prepared and abreast on every situation and practically having every player not in the league available.
Yeah.
For your services.
Well, I commend everybody involved, and that's the league, the players, and their association, staff members, and everybody just trying to figure this out and continue to move the business forward. The priority is everybody's health and safety and our families and friends. And then we're adapting. And I commend the league for adapting, to this new variant. And the fact that things are different than they were 2 years ago and a year ago. Now we have a league that is mostly vaccinated, double vax with a booster. And the ones that are testing positive, the overwhelming majority of them are asymptomatic or very minor symptoms. So I think the return to play protocol now, which could be quicker, I think was the appropriate step. And I don't think it was a rash decision. I think there's a lot of science behind it and a lot of communication between everybody. And then we'll move forward and expect to make adjustments, again. This is something that's constantly evolving and changing, and we have to change with it.
When you look back at late August or early August of 21 and Yurtseven, he came in here and made an impression. What has been the most indelible impression about his journey between then and to where he's established himself now with you guys?
He is really ambitious. He wants to be coached, wants to be pushed. I've said this before. When I say pushed, that's figuratively and very quite literally. And watching the workouts between Malik and UD and Omer, if you didn't know anything about us and you just watch one of those workouts, you would think we're just absolutely stark raving nuts. The level of physicality, that happens in one of those workouts, it's pretty intense, but it's all with love. Malik is an incredible mentor, for him. He's a great coach and teacher, extremely patient with him, spends a lot of time with him. And UD is the best playing mentor, in this league. And UD wants to see him do well and wants to do everything he can to pour into him to have him be ready, for these kind of opportunities. Because he has the skill set, he has the size, he has the touch. It's a matter of just getting used to NBA physicality. And he's embraced all of this. And you're seeing some of the results, from that. But he continues to work at it every day. And some days are better than others. He's a quick learner and very dedicated to that process.
Eric, there's a couple guys on your guys' team coming into this that have previous connections with Sacramento, and Kyle Guy, Stauskius, and even Priscilla as well. Just wonder.
And Dwayne. But Dwayne will not play tonight.
Yeah. I wonder, is that something that you view as they'll have a little bit more spark for them as a good thing, or is it, could it be that they need to calm down a little bit after a few minutes?
I don't care about them calming down. I mean, I hope they're excited about that. We're excited about having them with us. I don't know, if that will affect them in a different way. That's not something we talked about today. This is about us and preparing and hopefully putting together our best version of ourselves. Those are great, storylines. And I think, amidst all of this stuff that's going on, these are some really cool storylines. Players that are getting called up and getting an opportunity, to produce. And we've had some amazing nights and games the last month where if you approached it the wrong way and just focused on all the negatives about it or who you don't have, then maybe you wouldn't have had these just exhilarating games, with young guys stepping up and really impacting and helping us, get the win. So from that standpoint, we're enjoying seeing their success. I think the team is enjoying seeing these guys get their opportunity, and they're ready for it. They've been playing and competing all year long in the G League. So it's not as if you're just, taking guys, off the street. They're out of shape. These guys are ready.
From your standpoint, were you a little surprised by how quickly Kyle came out aggressively offensively, but also what did you see of him as a playmaker in addition to that?
Yeah, he made some really nice plays off the dribble. He's a shooter, he's a scorer. So I wasn't totally surprised. The ball was just finding him in some open areas, and he took advantage of it. Tyler and Kyle Lowry were really looking for him, in some certain situations. He's a gamer, so when he knocked down, a couple, he's like several of our guys. They become ignitable, and he had a great game for us, and we needed every bit of it, to be able to get that win on the road.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.